I recently asked a bunch of you guys over on our Twitch stream what you thought the best game of all time was, and there were a fair number of answers: Breath of the Wild, The Last of Us, Super Mario Brothers, Portal, but the common thread was that pretty much everybody agreed that in the top 3 sat Red Dead Redemption 2. And even when we look at lists compiled by big publishers or news sites, such as this one from IGN, they list Red Dead Redemption 2 as number 8, best game of all time, but they did put Super Mario World at number 2, which hurts me. No shade, I just think the game is extremely overrated, but we'll leave it there. Or when we look at Metacritic to see what the general consensus of critics is, we see Ocarina of Time, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, Soul Calibur, Grand Theft Auto 4. What did I read? It's 2. They're both here. What? Oh, it's because one's on PlayStation 3, the other is on the 360. Apparently they count as different games. That's weird. Anyway, Super Mario Galaxy, Galaxy 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, though, sits at number 8 with a 97, which is just utterly ridiculous. Like, that is crazy. So for this video, I wanted to jump into it, see what we think of it 4 years after it's launched. And I know that's crazy, 4 years. It's been 4 years since Red Dead 2 launched. Like, is time not flying by? What happened? So I bought the game on Steam. I've put a little bit of time into it over here. I originally played on my PS4 Pro, but you know, it's fine. We'll start over from here. Let's hit play and jump into it. Failed to initialize critical data. Okay. Unable to launch game. Please verify your game date. Okay, we're not off to a great start. Okay, so I'm being a little sassy. This is a known problem on the Steam port of Red Dead Redemption 2. Basically, you can't launch it straight out of Steam. You have to open Rockstar's game launcher, and then you have to sign in and then hit play, and then it'll launch properly. It's really stupid and dumb, but that's just how it works. And boom, just like that, we are in. First impressions, the game still looks freaking phenomenal. You know, it's crazy because this game is 4 years old, but it was definitely built with longevity in mind. It's aged very, very well. It looks incredible. The AI is still top notch. I love it. I love it. Now, the one big criticism people had about Red Dead Redemption 2 when it launched was that the quality of the game was tremendous, but there wasn't a lot of new content. There weren't a lot of fresh ideas. For the most part, it felt like more of Red Dead Redemption, which is great because Red Dead Redemption is tremendous, but it didn't feel like they did a ton that was new and really innovative, you know? One thing they did do that's tremendous and that still holds up are these dynamic encounters that you can have throughout the world, such as being attacked by a wolf. Boom. Okay. But what I mean specifically is that if we open up our map, I'm still remembering the controls, you can see there aren't 1,000 points of interest. There's nothing too complicated on this map. For the most part, if there is a quest to be found that's of note, they will put a little marker on the map, such as this, which is what it says. Billy Midnight should be around here, according to the notes on Levin's photograph. And so you go to that area, you'll look around, try to find Billy, and that'll kick off a side quest. Or like this one, Black Bell, you can see in this area there's something of interest. Head that way, you should be able to find it. And that is true of story quests, it's true of everything. They don't tend to pinpoint exactly where you need to go, but a generalized area. Furthermore, you'll also notice there aren't a lot of tiny points of interest scattered around, except for in cities where they mark things such as the butcher, a theater show, where you can go to the doctor and get medicine and things. They don't sprinkle the map with tons of points of interest, such as another game that came out recently to mixed fanfare. If you look at the map for Horizon Forbidden West, you'll see that it is just littered with things and points of interest and campfires for fast traveling. Like, It's so Ubisoft in its approach. They have no faith in the player finding points of interest or being able to navigate without constantly fast traveling between campfires. Like, for real, look how close all of these campfires are. It's like a 10-second walk from here to here, but they still put these here because they don't want to inconvenience you at all by having to walk from this point over here. Instead, they just sprinkle campfires all over so you can fast travel. It's insane. But in Red Dead Redemption 2, they're like, no, suck it up. You're going to ride your horse and love it. And that is a huge shift in design philosophy that I think is important to note, because so many games and developers nowadays seem to just think that their players are mindless buffoons or monkeys that just press button when button prompt shown. They don't actually think, they don't actually explore. Like this right here. This forest is fairly empty. I'll give it to you. There's trees, there's grass, there's rocks. It's true. It's like a regular forest. It's not a video game forest. It just feels like a forest. But I think that's the point, is this game has a much more realistic approach to its content, whereas a lot of those other Ubisoft games or, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, they have a very, very gamified version of their world where it doesn't feel realistic or grounded at all. It holds your hand a ton, and they aren't too concerned with flooding the map with tons of content or tons of points of interest. They generally approach it as, oh, did I not get him? Oh God, I'm sorry, Mr. Deer. Oh God, I think that was a doe. Mrs. Deer, I'm sorry. But yeah, they don't mind sprinkling in tons of points of interest. They're like, yeah, you know what? Players will deal with it. There's more content. That's a good thing. It reminds me of the press events back in 2014 promoting Dragon Age Inquisition, when the developers thought that saying that there was over 400 hours of content was like a major selling point. But nowadays, if you tell players there's 100 hours of content, players tend to sigh with frustration because they're like, usually that just means there's a ton of bloat and filler. Excuse me? So, sidebar. In Red Dead Redemption, there is something called a morality system, where if you do good things, your morality will tend towards good. And if you do bad things, it will tend towards bad. And towards the end of the game, there is a point where that point you are on that gradient has a major impact on what ending you get. So if you played as a good guy, awesome, you'll get the good ending. If you played as a bad guy, you're gonna die alone and be sad about it. Little encounters like this start to add up really, really quickly, especially because the game weighs bad actions much more heavily than it weighs good actions. So in this case, this guy got upset at me because I looked at him funny and I had my gun drawn, so he inferred that I was threatening him. I didn't make it better. I didn't diffuse the situation. So now, after aiming my gun at him, he thinks I'm about to kill him, which I probably am. In this situation, if you're playing as the good guy, role-playing in the shoes of Arthur Morgan, you should just walk away, or rather run away, and just not engage. But if you don't, it'll look something like this. Oopsie. Then the body will drop and you can inspect it. And even to this day, these animations for searching the bodies are just great. I mean, the gore system was also very, very realistic for 2018. The only thing that outdid it was The Last of Us Part 2, which has, I will insist, one of the most horrifyingly realistic gore systems I've ever seen. And this is what I mean with the quality of the AI. So this guy just stumbled upon this body and he's investigating it, but he didn't see me, so he doesn't actually know I did it. But he saw the body. So if I left him to just ride off, and you see his shoe got caught in the stirrup, so he's dragged off. If I let him ride off, he would go tell authorities, and authorities would then flood this area of the map searching for a perp. I pressed the Windows key somehow. So they would start looking for a perp. They don't know it's me specifically, so I could slip by undetected, or I could just run out and not give a damn and face it front on. But you'll notice already in the few minutes we've been playing, there is a different tone in this game than a lot of other games. It's not concerned with feeding you dopamine every 10 seconds, constantly distracting you with new content and things to distract you. They just want to present a realistic world for you to explore and to be captivated in. And they do a tremendous job of that. It goes back to that idea of game design confidence. They don't need to just distract you constantly or fill the game with all sorts of needless garbage. They just trust that you will navigate this world and have a compelling experience. And sure enough, you will. If you get past the opening sequence of the game, which drags on for a few hours while they introduce most of the major systems, you will be in for the ride of your life. And I'm not joking when I say that this game's story is very long, but is one of the most amazing narrative gameplay experiences you could possibly have. It's absolutely amazing. I don't want to get into too many specifics because if somehow you haven't played this, I don't want to spoil it for you, but look in the comment section. There are tons of people who will attest to just how remarkable this game is. Though now that I said that, I'm sure if you look in the comment section, there will be spoilers. Maybe don't look in the comment section. All right, now as we make our final approach into Saint-Denis, I want you to just take in the general surroundings as I ramble for a moment, because you'll notice that it's all fairly empty and it's not, again, very video gamey. There's not a ton of interaction. There aren't a ton of quest givers scattered around. There's not a ton of combat encounters and opportunities. I mean, if this were an Assassin's Creed game, I guarantee you every other house here would be some sort of encampment filled with soldiers that you can kill. But instead, these are just regular people. Poor people that I'm being mean to. But one word comes to mind as we ride through this city, and that is immersion. That is the chief end of this game. They are trying to design every bit and piece of it such that you can just become utterly lost in it. And they do a great job. Like this, we're just riding by. I didn't plan this. There's a guy here. Let's talk to him.
I've been covered in worse, friend.
Just had to be me.
Just had to be me. What's the matter, dude? Looks like he was just walking on the street and then somebody from their balcony threw out their chamber pot all over him. That's pretty great. I mean, not great for him, but great for me because it's funny.
Oh dear.
But like, look at this. It's just so simple and yet competent. It's confident because they don't feel the need to fill it with tons of NPCs offering you quests or doing things. They just trust that you're going to explore this and find it compelling. And you sure do, because it feels like real life, but real life in a time long lost in a city that no longer exists. I mean, it's based on New Orleans, so it doesn't exist, but it does exist. Like, you get what I mean. It's like sort of gone. But I'll be real, I was in New Orleans actually last summer before Nikki, my wife, and I had our first child in September. So just, we wanted to go on sort of a fun vacation together, and we decided to go to New Orleans, and we had a great time, tremendous. Didn't do like any drinking, but we did lots of historic tours and things. We had a great time. It was good fun. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the city still kind of looks like this, because there's all sorts of city ordinances that restrict repairs to buildings such that they have to be done in the same style as the original architecture. So you can't like scrape this building, the stationer, I can read, and New Agent building. You couldn't scrap that and then build up a hyper modernist thing. It has to be redone in the same style so it looks the same. So the city still feels like this. Like, if you ever want to explore someplace like this, take a trip to New Orleans. Like, you'll be blown away. It's crazy. Let's see what this guy's talking about.
I want you to ask yourself, do I consider myself pure?
I don't know.
And then I want you to ask yourself, what is the most disgusting, revolting, vulgar, and depressing thing in all creation? Mingling.
Mingling?
Mingling. Nature.
Wait, can I help you?
Nature likes purity. Nature does
Mingling.
not like
Eugenics
commingling.
for
Nature
beginners.
likes a family tree, not a family bush. And this
Oh.
being America,
Oh God.
and us being
I didn't realize. I just like heard him talking. I thought it was gonna be like a religious thing, like, oh, don't like have premarital sex or something. And then he's like, oh, don't mingle. Okay, what does that mean? He's like, be pure. Don't mingle, be pure, whatever. And then eugenics for beginners. Good God. God, man, come on. But I'm not joking. I get so immersed in this game whenever I boot it up to play. I will travel the city. I'll just explore, go hunting, fishing, whatever, just for fun. And when I'm done with that, I will come into the city where they have theaters that you can go to, and I will go see a show. Let's go see one. We walk up, we buy a ticket. This particular theater is pretty cheap. It's only 50 cents. My favorite theater is actually on the other side of town. It's up here, and it's close, but it's just up here. And it's $2 per show, but it's way, way better. They have like fire eaters and stuff. But we'll go into this one. This one should be a film, if I recall correctly. And we just walk in, we take a seat, and let's get front row. Can we get front row? Let's sit front row. Excuse me, dear. And watch a moving picture. Okay, for timing reasons, we won't sit here through the whole film, but they have tons of these little movies that you can watch and enjoy, in addition to tons of different magic shows and things throughout the city. So if you're ever bored or you just want something different, you can stop by one of those theaters and see a show, just like you would if you actually lived in this time and were in the city, because why not? And this is, I think, the truly tremendous thing about Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's one of the remarkable things about these games just in general, is that Rockstar is so good at creating compelling worlds and characters that if you give yourself over to it, you can end up having one of the most immersive and truly incredible experiences of your entire gaming life. Like, it really does feel like you live an entire life through Arthur Morgan's shoes, exploring this world, hunting, fishing, committing plenty of crimes, helping the needy, stealing from the needy, helping the rich, stealing from the rich. It's a whole epic tale, and you are sitting front and center for it, and there's nothing like it. I know we all like give Rockstar shit because we love ranting and rambling about how they take forever to make games, but it's because this type of thing doesn't just happen. You don't just stumble into a world that's crafted this carefully with so much content, with so many unique personalities and characters. It just doesn't happen very quickly. You've got to take your time on this, and there's tons of refinement, tons of prototypes of going in, trying something, taking it back, and working on this street and seeing how it flows, and then reworking the animation system so that people walk more naturally around the city streets, because perhaps the animation set for one NPC didn't work when walking on cobblestone, so you have to rework it so it looks right. All of that attention to detail builds and builds and builds and allows for this world to just simply come alive. Even now, like, again, we can't script this. There's a storm blowing in, and it changes the entire tone of our time with the game because it's so carefully implemented. The lighting changes realistically. You see all the gas lanterns that are on the front of the wealthy people's houses. There's nothing you can say about it other than it's simply magical. Like, it's amazing. Okay, this might be a little creepy, but when we were in New Orleans, we had a private tour guide because we didn't want Nikki, who was very pregnant at the time, to be walking in one of those big group tours. So the private tour guide had a minivan, and she drove us all around New Orleans, and it was great. She was wonderful. But she took us by some big celebrities' houses just to see what they were like. And John Goodman actually lives in New Orleans, and we could see him pacing in his upstairs study, library, whatever room. I don't even know what you would call it because I couldn't really see in. Oh, hi. Nikki gave me a heart attack. Hi. It's Nikki, everybody. Say hi, Nikki.
Oh, that's me.
I was just telling them about the time we were in New Orleans and we saw John Goodman's house, which looked just like this one. And we could see him pacing in the upstairs study whatever room. And it was kind of cool because I wanted to yell Pacha and see what he would do. But I figured that would be inappropriate. Did I make the right call?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Speaking of New Orleans and our trip, when we went, Locke was in her belly.
Yep.
Now, look at that little fella taking a nap right now. He joined us. He was with us when we were exploring this.
Yeah, through all the hurricane drinks and rum.
Yeah, through all of it. Oh God, he recognized me. What? Sorry, you recognized me. He recognized me. What am I supposed to do?
Not that. You say sorry, sir.
I am so screwed. There's so many people. The lights look tremendous. These gas lights, by the way. Oh, the lights just flicked on. Look at that detail. They hear the gunshots. They turn on the lights because they're waking up to see what's going on. That's insane.
I'm just sort of yelling. Stressed.
I am stressed because I'm being hunted by the popo. And I'm trying to survive. I got a baby at home. Oh, he looks so angry. Okay, now I just run into the forest. But this is what I'm saying. Like, the quality is amazing. And speaking of the gas lights, what I was saying is those gas lights, there are actually companies in New Orleans that you can buy those from today, and they'll ship them around the world. Apparently, they like actively ship those across the planet because people love them so much. They have a very unique style, and they're not easy to make, but you can get them, and it's like a staple of New Orleans. Which is why it's cool that it's here. I am so screwed. I am so dead.
I have no running across this river here.
This is the tricky thing too, running away in the marsh, is I might get away from the cops because they don't want to come in here. But the reason they don't want to come in here is because there's tons of alligators, and they will jump you if they find you, because that's what alligators do. Okay, I think we're generally safe. But I mean, this whole thing is just, I love it so much. I mean, the reason we go back to these games in this series we've been doing is because we want to just see what they're like 4 years after their launch. And all I want to do is keep playing, keep going, because there's just nothing like it. It's utterly amazing, and I love it dearly. And I would keep playing, but I think the fact that my wife came probably... She's bored. So we're going to go play The Quarry, which is the new game from Supermassive Games.
Supermassive
Which is a studio that did like Until Dawn and those games. If you want to see me do a video on that, let me know, because we've been playing it together at night when the baby goes down to sleep. So
I dropped my phone on my foot.
you dropped your phone on your foot? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Kiss it.
I mean, sure. But that's my cue. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. I love all of you more than you could possibly know. Much love from me and the missus and the baby.
I'm your wife.
Yeah, the missus. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye, everybody.